Jerusalem is the most fascinating city in the face of the planet. There is no other city that so much has been written about. Jerusalem is mentioned 660 times in the Old Testament, and it has 70 names. The city of David, city of gold, Ariel, etc. The main event in the New Testament takes place here in Jerusalem, the crucifixion of one, Yeshua of Nazareth, in the year 33 AD in the Golgotha, which we see from here. And then, according to the Christian tradition, Jesus resurrects. And 40 days after the resurrection, the ascension that takes place, according to the Christian tradition, from the Mount of Olives that we see behind. Jerusalem is so overwhelming that there is even a psychiatric syndrome named after the city, the Jerusalem syndrome, a few hundred cases a year. According to the Jewish tradition, Jerusalem is the only city on the planet that exists in two dimensions, the Jerusalem of the divine and the physical Jerusalem that we are experiencing. It is said by the Jewish elders that 10 measures of beauty have descended on the earth, and Jerusalem took 9 out of the 10. This is Jerusalem, and today we will reveal to you the secrets of Jerusalem and the sights that it has to offer. The old city of Jerusalem, 1 square kilometer, is composed of 4 quarters. The Armenian quarter that we see here, the Muslim quarter, which is there, the Jewish quarter, and of course the Christian quarter that I'm looking at now. Looking at the Christian quarter now, we see the 2 domes of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And then we will move to the right, and what do we see? We see a European-looking tower. That is the Church of the Redeemer, built by Kaiser Wilhelm II, who comes here to Jerusalem on a visit in the year 1898. And then we will continue looking. We see Mount Scopus with the Hebrew University campus, one of the 2 campuses of the Hebrew University here in Jerusalem. And then we will continue. What do we see? We see a tower, Augusta Victoria. Augusta Victoria was the beautiful wife of Kaiser Wilhelm II. And when he comes here on a state visit 1898, he builds Augusta Victoria as a hostel for pilgrims. Because at the time, there is nothing more prestigious in Imperial Europe than to have a foothold here in Jerusalem. And then we will continue looking to the right. We see the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock, that is where the Jewish temple stood over 2,000 years ago until its destruction in the year 70 AD by Titus. Behind the Dome of the Rock, what do we see? We see the Mount of Olives. And on the Mount of Olives, we see a tower. That is a Russian Pravoslavic church, the Church of the Ascension, commemorating the ascension of one Jesus of Nazareth 40 days after the resurrection. And then we will continue looking. We see the Mount of Olives. It is a huge Jewish cemetery, one of the oldest in the world, Jewish burial dating back to the time of King David, 1000 BC. According to the Jewish tradition, this is where the Messiah will descend to Jerusalem from. And this indeed is how Jesus arrives in Jerusalem in that fateful final week. Sunday of the last week, Jesus comes riding down the Mount of Olives on the back of a white donkey, basically performing the Jewish prophecy, because this is how the Jews believe that the Messiah will arrive to Jerusalem.